Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to our 2017 post-season conference. The date of our get-together today is a little bit later than it has usually been. We usually try and hold it about April, but because of our special speaker later on tonight after dinner, we had to find a date that would fit in with Mr Abbott's availability. So that's the reason that we're meeting here at this time. But I'd just like to formally welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. Hope that you have an enjoyable night. We can ensure that you can be assured that you will have a lovely dinner. Jill does a magnificent job of catering for us throughout the year at our senior management team meetings and various other functions, and I'm sure you will enjoy that tonight. And we thank her very much for the contribution that she makes to looking after us here in Canobolas Zone. I'd just like to make some acknowledgements. We have with us tonight Mr Brad Scatella, who's the Executive Director of Executive Services, who's representing our Commissioner Shane Fitzsimmons tonight. Welcome, Brad. The Honourable Philip Donato, the Member for Orange. Welcome, Phil. Good to have you here. From our councils, we have Councillor Jason Hamling representing the Mayor of Orange, Councillor John Davis, Councillor Ian Gosper from Cabon. Welcome, Ian. And Councillor Bill West from Cowra. And we are expecting Councillor Scott Ferguson from Blaney to attend as well. Andrew G might get here. He's our local federal member, and we welcome Andrew when he arrives. We have Superintendent Paul Whiteley, AFSM, representing the Regional Manager Paul Smith, and Paul is our Region West Operations Manager. So welcome, Paul. And later on this evening we'll be welcoming our guest speaker, Tony Abbott, the Honourable Tony Abbott. And to our brigade volunteers and brigade members, welcome and thank you very much for coming. We have a few apologies. We have, of course, the Commissioner, Shane Fitzsimmons, the Honourable Troy Grant, MP, the Minister for Emergency Services, Rebecca Ryan, the General Manager of Blaney Council, Steve Harding, the Acting General Manager of Cabon Council, and Paul Devery, the General Manager of Cowra Shire Council, and Majors Ian and Kerry Spall, who are the Senior Chaplains for the RFS, and Grant Baker, Director of Infrastructure from Blaney Council. So the first part of our proceedings today will be looking at having a welcome. Councillor Ian Gosper is going to welcome you here to the Canobolas Zone, and following on from that we'll hear from Phil, our local member, and Brad Scatella, and then Brett will bring us a report on the fire season that we've just completed. So Ian, I'll invite you to come and say a few words of welcome, please.
Yeah, many thanks, David. Look, rather than acknowledge everybody that David has just done, I'll just acknowledge the Brad Scatella, representing the Commissioner, Shane Fitzsimmons. Andrew G's not here, so Mr Phil Donato, our local state member for Orange. Superintendent Paul Whiteley, representing Paul Smith. Our own David Hoadley, Superintendent of the Canobolas Zone. Also like to welcome my fellow mayors from the Canobolas Zone, Councillor Bill West from Cowra, Deputy Mayor of Orange, Councillor Jason Hamling, and Councillor Scott Ferguson, who is coming along, I believe, later. So, John Davis is an apology as the Orange Mayor, and but together the four councils, the Blaney, Orange, Cowra and Cabon, make up the Canobolas Zone. I would like to acknowledge also the other brigade officers and all our volunteers. It's my privilege on behalf of the four councils to welcome you all here today. The Canobolas Zone of the Rural Fire Service works very closely with the four councils that make up the Canobolas Zone through the Bushfire Management Committee and the Canobolas Zone Liaison Committee. They meet every 3 months and it's a good way of communicating between the councils and the RFS, and it works very well. Personally, I've been involved with the RSS as a volunteer for over 40 years with the Boomy Brigade, which is north of Molong. Currently I'm a Deputy Group Officer with the Goobang area. Being in a grassland brigade, I have housed one of the Boomy Brigade Cat 1 tankers for over 30 years, and I have been one of the main drivers of that Cat 1 tanker. At Boomy, like a lot of the brigades, we are on the future list for a fire station, and we're looking forward to that. I'm a proud RFS volunteer and always have valued the team work that it fosters between neighbours and as well as neighbouring areas. Just on the Canobolas zone profile, there's 78 brigades in the Canobolas zone. Membership, 2,650 members. Fire vehicles, 153, and 30 support vehicles. The district size is 13,000 square kilometres. In population of that area, 72,300 people. And of that 13,000 square kilometres, we have 310 square kilometres of state forest and 354 square kilometres of national parks. The whole area is predominantly undulating agricultural grassland used for grazing, with the majority of the cropping area carried out in the Cowra area and the western side of the Cabon. The 2016-17 fire season started with a very wet winter and spring this current year. At home we had 38 inches for the year instead of our normal 26 or 27 inches. That set up a lot of fuel for summer for the fire season. It didn't dry off as early as usual, and by mid-December the rain stopped, and January and February were very dry months. The last few years we've been getting a lot of summer rain, but we didn't this year, and the fire scene was set. At home by mid-January we were starting to get the odd fire call, a couple of power lines down from wind, tree limbs, nothing big. But by the end of January it was getting very dry, and the fire danger was increasing. A couple of fires were bigger in size and getting harder to control and put out. Finally, after the end of the first week of February, conditions in our area were tinder dry, and everyone was looking for smoke, looking in the sky for smoke. The new preemptive declarations that came into force last year, allowing zones to put into place plans for real bad fire days, in my opinion, are great and worked wonders this last year. About the 10th of February, 2 days before the Avondale fire between Cumnock and Yeovil, and 3 days before the Yellow Box Road fire at Manildra, the Canobolas zone started grouping brigades together and marshalling heavy plant for catastrophic conditions that were forecast for that weekend. Volunteers were alerted and grouped. Text messages were sent out to the community along with phone messages and calls. Airstrips were made ready, crews were ready at short notice, and the volunteers were staying at home. They weren't going anywhere. Sunday, the 12th of February, was a terrible day. It proved true to all conditions that we were told by the Canobolas zone that were coming. We had strong winds, low humidity. The Avondale Road fire started with strong winds bringing down a limb over a power line. The response that day was absolutely incredible. To be able to hold and stop a large grasslands fire on that particular day was only able to occur because of the preemptive work done by the Canobolas zone, with good planning by you and the volunteers. The teamwork by neighbours and brigade volunteers coordinating the Canobolas zone staff was amazing. To stop that fire on that particular day was absolutely fantastic. It was catastrophic conditions, and without all that preemptive work that would never have happened. Usually, my brigade, we attend 2 or 3 fires a season and a few MVAs. This past season we attended a total of 17 incidents, a very busy bushfire season, but by mid-March the fire danger was gone. Look, I won't go on any further, but thanks for letting me say a few words. And on behalf of the 4 councils that I'm up here representing tonight, that make up the Canobolas zone of the Rural Fire Service. Thank you to all our volunteers. Welcome to our Volunteers Conference and enjoy the rest of the proceedings, especially our guest speaker tonight, Tony Abbott, who I believe will be very good. But on behalf of the other councils, welcome, and thank you, David. I'll hand back to you.